From garage sales to thrift store aisles, we hunt for treasure, stacking them in piles. Hustling hard, making deals all day, flipping finds, turning profit our way. Pure Hustle Podcast guides our quest, learning tricks to be the best. On eBay we make our name, reselling dreams, winning the game. Pure Hustle Podcast guides our quest, learning tricks to be the best. On eBay we make our name, reselling dreams, winning the game.
Merry Christmas and welcome to Pure Hustle Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando, and we're here for a live episode 430 Christmas episode.
That's right. And this will be releasing, if you're listening on the podcast, this is going to be released right after we're live on YouTube. So make sure you come on over to YouTube, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the bell notification so that when we do these lives, you don't miss them. And we thought instead of dropping a normal episode on Wednesday, since Wednesday is Christmas, same thing with New Year's, we figured we would do these on Monday. And Orlando, I like your hat there. For those of you who are watching, you see Orlando's got a hat. I actually have one too, but because it's green, it's like an elf hat.
I have a green one.
It doesn't show up with my green screen, so I was gonna wear it. But
let's see how it looks. Just put it on. Let's see. It's a good thing because I had a green one too, but I didn't put it on. Interesting. All right. Well, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah. So we're doing a kind of a short update episode where we will talk about kind of what's going on in our recent reselling adventures, and then also some reselling news and topics. Which, Orlando, I don't see on our topics. We're not there yet, but do we also want to talk about the Amazon strikes? Is that maybe relevant?
Yeah, I'm back and forth on it. Like, I don't think it's affecting Amazon's workflow. Like, they've been very big on just bringing in people to come in and replace whatever workers went on strike. And, I've ordered a bunch of Amazon packages and they're on time.
Really? Might have been super delayed. So I don't know.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So. But I don't know. But how are things going, Orlando?
I got to tell you, it's been the first Q4, I would say, that I was not Amazon heavy and that I ended up doing really well on eBay. It's just I'm just kind of shocked because we've always said on the podcast that, Q4 is great for like if you're an Amazon seller or you do retail arbitrage on eBay. But if you're like a secondary seller, you sell vintage goods, collectibles, like it's good. There's an uptick, but it's not like moving. And I got to tell you, it's been moving so much so that like every day it's kind of a grind, which I'm happy about. I'll take the grind all day long, but it has been a grind, like to get all those packages out on time, and it's been great. Hey, before we get started, just want to say hi to people in the chat. Patrick, thanks for joining us. Merry Christmas to you too, also, and Scott Miller, thanks for being here, and others that are in the chat, those that are watching. Hey, make sure if you haven't yet, subscribe to our channel. Make sure to hit that like button as the episode progresses. So, yeah, it's been good. It's been good. I'm of the belief that I don't know. It just I don't know what happened. I would say part of it continues to be my end until similar of 250 items. If you have a big enough store, I would recommend like if you could. I don't know what percentage is that. That's like it was 250. It's almost 10%. It's like 8.5% of my 3,000 items, which I don't actually even have 3,000 items. I have like 2,400 something now, something around that effect. I think that's helped. And with the way I do it, I've said this before, I do and sell similar, and then I do it 12 hours later, and I set a time, and then I make it that every minute it'll post a new listing of those 200 items, right? Mm-hmm. So for 200 minutes in a row, it's listing new items. And what it does is I think it creates new interest as people begin to look at these items. Maybe they put in their cart, and what ends up happening is I get a bunch of send offers that I didn't have before. And now I have a bunch of send offers. I probably have about, I would say 40 to 50 on average send offers a day from doing this. And then along with that, If you're listing consistently, I think that helps. I think that's something you should always be doing. So I don't know. And then again, it's Q4, right? So people are trying to buy. But one of the things I was going to talk about, and I'm going to talk about later on, is that I keep selling items that I've never had any activity on, never had an offer, never had sold, like nothing. Like it's just out of the blue, right? And we talk about that happens during Q4 where you get those. And so that's been great. I'm still sourcing my death pile. I have not gone sourcing for over 2 months. And I know that hurts our podcast a little bit because people like hearing the stories of us sourcing, but I just got to keep it real. I've always said that from day one. Like this podcast will always be a documentation of what we do. And part of that is for me, it's like I have so many items I can keep listing. I'm waiting until I get down to under 2,000, and maybe then I'm probably gonna go sourcing soon. But anyways, I just it's been great. It's been great. And then the other thing that's been kind of interesting is I've been getting a lot of shipping defects. And let us know in the chat if you're experiencing this. But USPS is doing this weird thing where like you'll ship something out and they don't keep it like in a facility for like 2 or 3 days, and then out of nowhere you'll see it arrives to the next location. And you might think it's that time gap, but no, what ends up happening, it's like I'll print out a label, I'll go drop it off at our post office. Let's say it's like the Mesa post office here, and then it'll go to San Diego distribution center, and it'll be San Diego distribution center day 1, day 2, day 3, and then it'll be in transit to the next location. And it's been doing that a lot. So for example, I had a rough issue too because I had time away, and it dinged some of my time away items too for shipping. So I had like 20 defects for shipping. Now that's not a big deal for me because the volume that I sell, like I'm not gonna end up not being a top rated seller. Now if I have maybe 60 to 80, then it starts becoming a problem. But what ends up happening is, you get those defects, and if you're not careful, when you get evaluated, you can end up dropping. So I've been going in to seller help, and it's interesting. eBay has made it really hard, not to appeal, but to find where to appeal. Like you click on seller help, then it's like click on some other thing, then it's like click on some articles, then you click on some other articles, then you eventually click to some other thing about remove a defect, and then eventually you get to where like you can ask for a defect to be removed. It's not like before where you could just go to seller help and it said request assistance. It's like this whole other click, 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 click. And maybe it's because they don't want people doing it. But I had like 20 emails. And in those 20 emails, I ended up getting probably, I would say, a third of them removed, which ended up helping my metrics. So be aware of that.
Yeah, that's good. Real quick, we got a comment here. Scott Miller says the thing about the end and sell similar that I don't like is I like being able to sort by date so that I can clearly see my oldest stuff and discount accordingly. And I think there's something to be said about that. But I think one of the ways you can kind of, I don't want to say game the end and sell similar, but you can kind of still do something similar. I mean, Orlando's talking about doing like 10% of his store, right? So if you're doing 10% of your store, you're going to get through in 10 days every item. So if you start the end and sell similar with your oldest items, and let's say you do only 5% of your store instead of 10%, in 20 days you will have like a listing should never be older than 20 days before it reaches the time to do that again. So you can still kind of see if an item goes through that cycle 2-3 times where you've ended, sold similar, hey, it's that 20 days is up again, I'm doing it again. Then maybe you're recognizing, hey, I need to adjust pricing. And I think that's something you should do every time you end and sell similar, is probably look at your pricing, look at comps, and it's a manageable number. Like if you're doing 5% of your store, you might only be doing 20-30 items ending and selling similar each day. And you could still kind of figure out, you won't necessarily know like, hey, this item is 3 years old, but you can still kind of realize like, hey, this is now the 4th time I've done this, which means this item has been sitting for 3 going on 4 months now and it hasn't moved. Maybe it's time to adjust pricing. So I still think there's a way you can utilize the end and sell similar if you're kind of doing it by oldest first, and then every 20 days, if you're doing 5%, you're doing it again, and you're doing it again. It's going to go through a couple cycles before you realize, hey, maybe it's time that this item pricing gets adjusted.
And there's also some people that can use custom SKU label, and in the custom SKU label, they'll put the date of the purchase.
There you go.
Right, so they know when that item was picked up. So yeah, things are great. I'm hoping that it'll continue through. How about you? How are things going for you?
Yeah, I mean, things are going pretty good. Went to some thrift stores today. I'm off from school, which is fantastic. Normally Mondays aren't days that I go sourcing, so I kind of wanted to do something a little bit different. So I hit up a couple of the thrift stores in my area that I go to. I wouldn't say regularly, but they're a little bit more often than others. And one of them has been really good for me because it has some kind of a deal, I'm assuming, with H-E-B. If you're not from Texas, H-E-B is like the big grocery store here. Everybody is very, very loyal to H-E-B. Like whenever there's talks about another grocery store coming into town, like people fight it because they're like, no, H-E-B. So anyways, I think this thrift store has like a deal with H-E-B where overstock items or items that are being pulled from the shelf for whatever reason end up there, and not just food, but like specifically items like toys, because it's like a big grocery store. So there's like toy items, also beauty and cosmetic. It's almost like a little mini. It's kind of like a Walmart. You can almost imagine they even have like a clothing section. So a lot of like the beauty and cosmetic and even medicines and stuff will end up at this thrift store, but in bulk and at really good prices. And so I've done really well on picking up items like, I don't know, sunscreens or nail polishes or various things like that, where it's like I can get 30 of them at one time and I'm only paying like $1 or $2 each, and they're going to sell for like $8 a piece. So it's worth it because I'm buying in bulk. I may only be making $5 net profit off each, but if I could pick up 30 of them and I know they're going to sell over the next year, it's still like a killer deal. So I went to that store, picked up a whole bunch of some really good sunscreens and some other things that I think I'll make money on. But the bummer is it's the other thrift store is only like, I don't know, 4 doors down. It's like in the same strip mall parking lot. So I drive over there and they're closed on Mondays. And it's like the sign is on the door. It's like closed on Mondays. And because I never go on Mondays, I didn't know, which is just a reminder again. And you really got to know your local thrift stores, know when they're restocking, know when they're open and closed, know when they're having their sales. But because I don't ever source on Mondays, I never cared that they were closed on Mondays. And here I am over at this thrift store on a Monday. I would have gone somewhere else had I known that they were going to be closed. So just kind of a funny thing with that.
And again, I've always said, the best way to know thrift stores is to be there consistently, especially the times, right? Things happen. It's funny. I'm going to talk about it later. Like, I love going to thrift stores after Christmas. Like, though, there's like the sweet spot, like 3 or 4 days after Christmas, where I think everybody's just really busy, actually having family time. And I do have my family time, but no one's really thinking about going out. And so I love going out because I feel like there's a lot of good stuff out there when you go out there. Hey, wanted to say real quick here, Merry Christmas to Wayne K. Shop. I will tell you, go check out his episode where we did an interview with Wayne, and you're still killing it, Wayne. I see your stuff all the time. Mike and I haven't posted as much on social media like we used to, but I still see your stuff, and I'm like, Wayne's still killing it. So if you want to follow a reseller who's went from post office to, I don't know, buying off everything you own, except I think your home, you're still working on it, but your cars, your student debts, Wayne is the guy to follow. So check him out. Silver Fox Finance here said, sales ramping up for gifts after Christmas. LOL. Merry Christmas, guys, and a Happy New Year. And it's true. Like, I find that people are still buying. Like, the volume of sales I've had has not died down, and it may continue, right? It may even go into January. So, like we said in our previous themed episode, if you have time, right, and if you've already done your vacation, or maybe you have another vacation plan, like, spend this time to list, because there are sales to be made. So definitely keep on moving with that. All right, so we're moving here. Hey, before we move on, My Reseller Genie, if you haven't checked them out, way to start the new year is by making sure you're up to date on your bookkeeping. So if you haven't been up to date, it's one of those things that worry you. My Reseller Genie is a great solution for you. So check them out. You get 15% off the first month. Use our code Pure Hustle, and again, you'll get 15% off the first month, and it'll help you be able to import all your eBay stuff and also track your profit and losses and all the shipping and your promoted listings, all those things, so you can maximize your tax, hopefully the amount that you don't pay or the amount that you get refund. So check them out, My Reseller Genie. Use our code Pure Hustle. All right, Mike, you have any random stories here as we're moving along here?
Yeah, so this might be something in our future episode or next episode. We'll probably kind of recap the year and then also talk about like what we're looking forward to in the 2025 reselling season. But one of the big purchases I made this year, and it happened over the last few weeks, and it has been a game changer for me just on day-to-day basis, but also in reselling, is I got a phone case that is a battery pack. this has been a changer for my reselling, because I used to, like, when I would go sourcing, I would have to like be plugged in between garage sales and like at the thrift store, I'd be constantly watching like, oh no, my phone is dying, because I have really bad battery life anyways. It only lasts a few hours if I'm using it consistently. So I was constantly monitoring battery life. And we've talked a lot about, like, when you're going out to garage sales, some things you should bring with you, like keep some batteries in the car, like AA's, AAA's, in case you need to test something. Keep money in different denominations, right? Have ones, have fives, have some quarters just in case. All the little things that we've mentioned, maybe a little screwdriver in case you need to like open up something to put batteries in, little things like that to have on your sourcing. But one of the things that I would say has been the game changer for me reselling just the last few weeks, and I know going forward it's going to make a huge difference, is having a battery pack phone case. Like, it is wild. I have all day battery now and then some, and I can be on it the whole time. So like, I can be at a thrift store for hours putting in information on YouTube. And there were literally times where I'd have like another bag with a battery pack with a cape, like a cord plugged into my phone. And I'm walking around with like my phone plugged in to another cord in my pocket. You know, I'm plugging it in, and now I don't have to worry about it. So just kind of a random thing to consider if you're sourcing a lot and maybe don't have like a brand new phone, you're having some battery issues, is you can get a case that is a battery pack. Like, it has been a game changer. So just wanted to throw that out there as a possible tip or trick. And if you've got other tips or tricks for like sourcing, go ahead and put those in the comments. We would love to hear them.
I just feel like we're so bad at like marketing. Like, we should have an Amazon affiliate link set up for that, but we don't even have that. And I think, what was the item? There's another item the last episode we were talking about. I don't know if it was for like hanging items, or I don't know what it was. You remember we were talking about something specifically that you should have, like if you're a reseller. I don't know if it was a thermal label printer. No, we've talked about that. It was something that we use, and we never mentioned it. So, by the way, stay tuned. We will be adding more things to our Amazon affiliate links, just maybe because we've never seen action. Like, we've just really never put that on there. So yes, Patrick here says, had the battery pack and totally worth it. I agree. I would say right now I got a new iPhone 16 and the battery life is on this is incredible. So I don't have to worry about a battery pack. I feel like I can go sourcing all day and never have to charge it. But yes, definitely valuable. For me, it's the random stories is just the randomness that sells in Q4, right? That I love it, because you have items and you list it and it goes 6 months, 8 months. You may even go like 2-3 years until you get any action on it. But I want to encourage everyone, if you have something that has never had an offer, never had any movement, and you get a decent offer, take that offer, because you never know when you're going to see that offer again. I hustled the week earlier this month was a bobblehead that I sold for over $400 that never had any action on it, and somebody just bought it. I had 2 sets of lamps, vintage lamps that sold for $200. Never had any action on it. I had racing tracks, vintage racing tracks for slot cars. Never had any action on it. $200. My nativity scene stuff that I picked up at a garage show. I picked up a whole nativity, like I think it was like 8 characters, for like $20. And I've sold like the wise man. I sold baby Jesus. I sold Mary. It sounds kind of weird saying all this, but anyway, sold all of them and made like $400 or $500. This was another one. This is a crazy one. A 19th century English William Burden silver plated, kind of like, those old like fruit punch, like little spigot things. They're like, they're silver plated. Like, they look very antique-ish. I don't know, like this. This is not a bolo. Okay. Don't ever pick up something like this. This is not going to sell really quick, but you know what? It sold, and it sold for a good amount of money. I ended up selling it for $150. So I want to encourage you guys, like, if you get offers right now, like just take them, because you have no idea. I sold I don't know, it was a metal tape, like metal meaning like music. It was metal music. I forget what band. I sold it for like $130 for the cassette tape. Like, and I found it. I paid like, I think like 10 cents for it. And I'm telling you, Q4, even into January, if you have no actions on items, like, there is no better time to take offers, because they may never come around. So, hey, let us know in the chat if you have anything that's sold that was unexpected, that you're like kind of shocked and you took it right away. Let us know in the chat. We'd love to share that here in our episode, but share it quickly, because this isn't a long one. This is a little bit shorter due to the holidays. All right, let's talk about some reselling topics here, Mike.
All right, so this is normally the part of the episode where I play the breaking news sound effects, but for whatever reason, when we're live, I can't figure out how to make it where you hear that music and me talking as well. So we'll just jump right into the news topics here. What's our first one, Orlando?
First one is, we've been going back and forth over the years about this whole like, will eBay report your sales, if you hit a certain threshold, right? And it was a couple years ago that it was supposed to be if you sold more than $600 anywhere that you're supposed to self-report, or that eBay will send you a 1099 or Poshmark. Well, now the threshold, according to eBay, has been moved up to $5,000. So
I think that's a good number. Like, here's my thought on the 5,000.
okay.
Probably guaranteed everybody who's listening to our podcast is well above that threshold, right? So we're all paying our taxes. It's the people who, want to say things if they want to make the argument like it's only fair, everybody should pay their fair share of taxes. Like, I get it. We understand how to do cost of goods and how to figure out our deductions and all of that. Like, that's part of the game. We recognize it. I'm not going to complain about getting a 1099. I do my taxes every year. But what I like about 5,000 as opposed to 600 is it kind of helps eliminate the one-off person who's not a reseller. Like, they bought something years and years ago and they realize, hey, I could sell this on eBay. And so they make an eBay account, they sell it. Maybe they sell like 2 items together. They've sold maybe $800 worth of items in a year, and that's all they're doing. They're not a reseller. Next thing you know, they're getting a 1099, and they're like, "What? I've got to deal with like taxes," and they're trying to figure that out. That news spreads. People realize like it's not worth selling on eBay unless you are a reseller. And then all of a sudden you're losing a ton of people on eBay. Like, you want eBay, I feel like, to be a platform where people are on there buying all the time. And if somebody's like, hey, I've got this thing sitting around my house, I could sell it on eBay too. Like, you want the user base on eBay doing a little bit of both, kind of dabbling and buying stuff. And if they have something to sell it here and there. But if they're not like a working, like, hey, I'm reselling to make thousands a year, because you could very easily have bought something for $1,000 10 years ago and then been like, hey, I can resell this on eBay, and you resell it for $600. You actually took a $400 loss, but now you're getting a 1099 and you don't know what to do with it. And it's confusing. And so I think the 5,000 is nice because it's less likely that somebody accidentally sold $5,000 worth on eBay,
I know. I just, to me, it's one of those things where it's like, everybody should be doing their taxes, right? And the reality is we end up, those of us that follow the rules, and then we get hurt by those that don't. But, it is what it is. And it ends up making more rules for other people. And I'm not a big fan of taxation, but that's for another time. Hey, so that's it. I just want to be aware. Hey, if you guys are new and you've sold above that 5,000, just file it. You never want to get in trouble, right? You want to just make sure you do what you're supposed to do. Hey, real quick, Patrick here. I think I found this one. I had mentioned, you share with us what you sold for a lot of money. It said, sold a broken tape player, bought for $30, sold it for $1,350. Wow, that's like a hustle a week. It was a Nakamichi, I think I pronounced that right. I found comps on eBay, and yeah, there's one that did sell for over 1,000. So that may be yours. That's on there. But I love like selling vintage, like Sony Walkmans. Like, if they don't work, they sell for good money still. Like, so yeah, all those audio files, like, you always want to make sure that you're doing your research there. All right, hey, this next one, I found this was interesting. So there's a new story that came out, and I don't know, it's called the Santa Clara. I know that's a city. This came out. It says reselling revolution inside the Bay Area's thriving thrift economy, and had basically talked about how everybody's going to the bins and how thrifting is going really well. But I thought it was pretty interesting hearing from one of the Goodwill execs at that time. So let me share with you some numbers. It said Goodwill San Francisco Bay hit a record $66 million in revenue in 2022, up from $42 million in 2021. That's a lot. That's $24 million. That's a third. That's a lot of profits here. And then revenue soared in 2023 to $75 million. And again, remember, this is thrifted goods. This isn't retail arbitrage. This isn't your local Target. Like, this is stuff that they're getting for free, and they're making this amount of money, which is pretty phenomenal. And said, the problem with it, Goodwill said Goodwill discontinued its wholesale program at its San Francisco warehouse just this past September, where resellers once purchased items by the pallet. We don't have that here in San Diego by the pallet. I don't know if in Texas does. The decision sparked immediate backlash from local entrepreneurs who relied on bulk purchases to stock their revenues. And so I thought that was kind of interesting. I think they felt that, maybe they could do a better job. And I keep saying this with like AI and the ability of Goodwill to process stuff faster, like they're going to end up sending more to Goodwill. And then the other interesting thing I found on here was they had mentioned, I don't want to read the whole article, but they had mentioned that, obviously anything that is good, right, they can get a lot of money. They said, if we got something good that we know is worth a lot, we send it to e-commerce and it goes to the highest bidder. And they said that they have about 46,000 men's items and 114,000 women's pieces. But what I found was interesting. They're saying, hey, the market, okay, they don't raise prices because of resellers. That the reason that they're raising it is because in the end, it's just, they have higher end items that people are demanding. And so they feel they can get more money on it. And then they mentioned that they actually have a quota of items that they have to send to Shop Goodwill, to their e-commerce store to sell. And I'm like, wow. So not only is it good items, it's also they have a certain amount of items that they have to be on the lookout. They have to be selling. So to me, that tells me that it's going to get even more difficult, right, to go to the thrift. At least the store that shall not be named, being Goodwill, right? So I know people that kill it all the time, right? We had Wayne in here that he goes thrifting. He doesn't go to Goodwill though, but he goes to other stores. But it's just one of those things that, they had mentioned at the end of this article that reselling will probably get more difficult as the years pass. And I would say that's true. Like, for example, I don't know if you saw the latest upgrade to ChatGPT, where now it can visualize things. So I can put my phone and it'll, like, the camera will focus on me and I can bring out some ingredients to make a cake. And I could say, hey, help me how to make this cake. And like, it'll say, get some flour. And so I'll get the flour and I'll mix in the flour and the eggs and whatever. And it'll tell me how long to stir. It'll tell me how long to put it in the oven. Now imagine it can't do that to you while you're trying to make something. Imagine what AI is going to be able to do. And they've already done it. We shared it on the podcast when they get massive bulk clothing and they just send it through conveyor belts, right? I think it's going to definitely change everything. So as we've always said, always be looking for other ways to source, because you never know when the way that you're sourcing now will come to an end. Any thoughts on that one, Mike?
No, sounds good.
Okay, all right. And I got one more here to end on our holiday cheer here. This is from badcredit.org. That's the name of the site. It says over 110 million Americans admit to reselling or regifting Christmas presents, survey reveals. Now, Mike, have you ever regifted or not? Sold, like sold it on eBay, something you got for Christmas?
I don't know. I feel like I probably have. I can't like point to a specific item. I'm sure like I've gotten like gifts, like not necessarily like personal gifts from my grandma type of thing, but hey, like my school or my work or whatever is like giving everybody XYZ for Christmas. Like everybody gets a little blender or something. And then like if it's resellable, that might end up on eBay. So I'm sure I've done that. I'm sure that's taken into consideration. I think a title like that is a little bit misleading, because it's like however many items or people resell or regift. And I feel like it's probably much higher at the regift level than resell or return. I doubt many people are reselling them, but I'm sure they do. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, especially if somebody gifts you something that you don't necessarily need or want, but you need the money, and it's like, man, why didn't they just get me a gift card? But I do think a lot of people regift. I think that's probably a little bit more common.
My favorite thing that I sold last year from this time was at a White Elephant. I ended up winning a Cheetos snuggle blanket, like, those Snuggies. Yeah, it was a Snuggies, but it was a Cheetos one. And I brought in, whenever I do White Elephant, like I think resellers are the best at White Elephant because we have a plethora of randomness, right?
No. You totally bombed one of the White Elephants that I went with
What do
you
you
back
mean?
when we were I was teaching at
When
the
we were
school where you were
teachers?
vice principal.
What did I mean?
You were super excited, and like you made trades, and you were like desperate to get this like selfie stick thing. And I saw you like on eBay, like looking it up. And then afterwards, after you'd like taken it from somebody and got it, and like I think you'd given up like a good gift to get it. And then
I
you're
don't
like,
remember.
you told me afterwards, you're like, oh man, like this is not actually worth as much as I thought it was going to be worth. Yeah. You were banking on trying to resell that selfie stick thing. So it was like an automated one or something, but it wasn't like what you thought it was.
Okay, that dates us. That has to be like 2014, right?
Yeah,
2015.
it was. It was like
Because that, remember
2014.
selfie sticks? Who uses those anymore?
No, yeah, that was like 10 years ago.
Wow. Okay. No. But for example, I'm saying like even right now, like I'm sitting here and I got like this Corvette hat that I could do white elephant. I got like this Disney hat that I could white elephant. I have
Oh yeah, chia pets, man. I can't tell you how many chia pets
yeah.
I've taken to white elephant.
That's what I'm saying, right? And
If it doesn't resell pretty quickly, it ends up as a white elephant.
there you go. And I ended up selling that Cheetos blanket, I think, for like $40. Right. And whatever I ended up trading, I think it was worth like $3 that I picked up at a garage sale or something. So you just never know. Let us know in the comments real quick here. Have you ever resold a Christmas gift or something you got from White Elephant Gift? And was it worth it to you to do that? The one thing I did get this time, I ended up picking up a Zombie Kittens game. So it's only worth like $14. So
nice.
So there you go. All right, Mike. So what we got some bolos real quick. What's your bolo here? Oh, you can play it?
Let me click the sound effect.
Bolo. What's your bolo?
All right. So my bolo actually kind of is a continuation of last episode. I mentioned getting some Thursday boots and selling them, and that I was in the market for boots. And I got a couple of different comments. One person said on the episode on YouTube, they commented, Two Dope Sons commented and said, "You are 2 to 3 weeks away from the start of Texas rodeo season. If you want to sell cowboy boots and paraphernalia, better get on it." So that's part of my bolo. And then inside the Discord, which, man, I love our Discord, I had somebody kind of give me some advice and tips on some different brands to look at, and some leather grades of those brands that are useful. I'm not going to give those out on here because I'm going to use that for my own personal buying, and then also potentially bolo to be looking out for. But just a reminder that it is getting close to rodeo season. So if you do see boots and cowboy belts and leather belts and cowboy hats, now's the time to be picking those up. What about you? What's your bolo?
Oh, there you go. So this is one of, I've mentioned this before, but I gotta tell you, discontinued Christmas items. Like people just, they want something that they haven't had for a while. And I mentioned already the Christmas blow molds, like the nativity sets. But I'm selling them right now, right? They're not going to get there in time for Christmas. But what people are doing is they're taking a look at their inventory as far as like Christmas decoration. They're going, oh, hey, we probably need to get this replaced, right? Or, there may be a Mr. Christmas item, right? That, no longer is made and they can't find it anymore and they want to sell it. Like I just find that people are buying just a lot of discontinued Christmas stuff. I'm trying to think. I just sold a Rain Twinner Hawaiian shirt, but that's not like discontinued. But that's a bolo, right? Like keep an eye, Rain Twinner Hawaiian shirt still sell for good money. Not like they used to. They used to be sell like for $200 or whatever. But I sold one today for $88 that I picked up for $9. So you're still able to sell them. But yeah, look for those discontinued Christmas items because people are definitely looking to up their game. Another one was an interesting one was I had mentioned it's a hustle of the week, but like old Christmas lights, right? Like if they're figures or if they're, something that was on the mantle or something you just can't find anymore, right? Something you can't just go to your Target or go to your Home Goods. Like keep an eye out for those items. Definitely look those up when you're out, especially at estate sales. I find that at estate sales, those get easily looked over. So discontinued Christmas items. And, it never hurts right after Christmas right now. If you got some time and things go 75% off at certain stores, like it may be worth picking up, right? It may be worth picking up some inflatables if you can get them for a good price and do some retail arbitrage that way. So that is my bolo. All right, what are you looking forward to, Mike, here as we wrap things up in our Christmas episode? Mike, you are on mute, my friend.
Good point. Sorry, my kids are in the background. They're getting ready to be put to bed, so I muted my mic there. But I am looking forward to just having a little bit of a break because I am going to be going all in 100%. I am increasing my reselling at a level that I haven't done yet because I feel like I'm established here. Like I'm finally like I have got this part of Texas figured out. I mean, I haven't, but like I'm in a groove now. I've got things are going great at my 9 to 5. Things are going good here. I'm established. And so I'm really ready to kind of kick up reselling a few notches. So I know that's coming. Like I know the intensity is about ready to pick up. So I'm really excited just to have like a week of, I'm just going to chill. I'm going to enjoy the family. I'm going to relax. I'm going to not really stress about reselling. And then, man, once once 2025 rings in, man, we're gonna kill it. And I hope all of our listeners are too. And not that there's anything special about a brand new year, but whatever you did this year, let's do better next year. Like that's always, I think, a good way of looking at a new year. What about you, Orlando? What are you looking forward to?
So I keep saying this, but I'm so looking forward to reorganizing just because I just feel like I have just too much stuff. Like I need to consolidate. I've said this many times, but I'm finding even more like now as I've been selling through a lot of stuff, like I have more room in my shipping room. I have more room in my eBay room. Like I have the ability probably to, I would say, if I really worked at it, I could like have an entire room that has no eBay inventory as far as either my eBay room or my podcast room. I'm not saying I have stuff in my other rooms. Like my other rooms are living spaces, but I would love it if the podcast room just went back to what it was back in the day where it was just the podcast stuff and I had like a photo booth. That's all I had. I remember, and I had some totes where now I still have inventory everywhere, but I think I'm going to be able to consolidate. I'm also, I'm like you, I'm looking forward to spending time with family. I love Christmas. I love the Christmas season. And one of the beauties of reselling is that things do calm down and you also make good money, right? Just before it. So you kind of can, enjoy the fruit of your labor. And I encourage everyone to enjoy the fruit of your labor. If you made a ton of money, like go out, go on vacation, take that long awaited, even if it's staycation, even if you got to get a nice hotel, have that indoor pool, jacuzzi, whatever it is, like do something, right? To reward yourself for all the hard work, right? Treat yourself. Okay. And then the other thing I'm looking forward to is, like I mentioned before, I can't wait to go sourcing like December 26th, December 27th, because I find that there are opportunities there because everybody else is not sourcing. And that means there's some sourcing at the thrift store for you also. So, hey, thank you for everyone that joined us. I appreciate all the support. Hope everyone has a great Christmas. And we will have another episode just before the new year, another live next Monday. So stay tuned for that one. And as always, make sure to be real,
Be relevant,
and be reselling. Leads.
Peace.